Yo, Devy Junkies, Brandon here, host of the Devy Deep Dive podcast and creator of the Devy Dashboard. Welcome to the Devy Huddle. It is a live stream every Tuesday night here on this YouTube channel. I'm joined today by Dan Miner, Dashboard's contributor, Joe, also a Dashboard contributor, and a special guest also on the Dashboard in the chat all the time is the diva of Devy, as we like to call her. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you. Great to be here.
We were just talking pre-show that Katie's birthday is tomorrow, so we're not going to sing happy birthday, but happy birthday nonetheless.
Thank you.
So this show's going to be fun, man. We're going to talk every Tuesday night. We're going to just talk everything about Devy. We're going to talk about news, topics of, interest. We're going to do like a stock watch segment. Then I come up with like a burning question of the week to maybe talk about some of the names and players that you may have on your roster. And this week we're going to do something a little different. A couple weeks ago, we talked about the upcoming games, but we're going to do some recent Devy Dashboard trades. So we have a trade channel on the Dashboard chat, on the Slack chat. So I pulled and went back into history and pulled some trades. So we're going to see, we're going to discuss some trades, right? Everyone loves to discuss trades. Again, if you got these players on your roster, it's fun to kind of, to get value because, right, valuing Devy players, I think we would all agree is probably pretty difficult. I think it's probably one of the more challenging things, especially when you're making trades with NFL pieces in part of the trade. So that should be fun. So let's get to just like the news of the week. First off, I just can't believe that it's like week 6 already. I say it on my podcast all the time. It goes by so fast. We're almost halfway through the regular season. There's 13 weeks, I believe, and plus the playoffs. So suck up every week. Enjoy every weekend because before you know it, the holidays are going to be here and it is going to be over. So let's first talk about, guys. I just wanted to kind of go through. There were some injuries. Injuries in the NFL have been just ravaging our rosters and dynasty, but now we've got some injuries happening, in the college scene. So I wanted to at least talk about that. The first one was McClellan. I've got plenty of shares. It's pretty tough to lose a player like that. I mean, it is Robinson's backfield right now anyway. But, who do you guys think? Do you think it's Sanders or Roydell Williams? I think 2 weeks ago had a pretty solid game, ran for over 100 yards. What are we thinking as far as you think we're going to see any Trey Sanders get any legs with him? I mean, I got a couple shares of him. What are your guys' thoughts?
I think Brian Robinson's going to be in for a bigger workload, to be honest. I would love to see Trey Sanders. I don't know. Is he back 100% since his car accident?
I think so. I mean, he's been getting a little bit of run, but I mean, I think obviously 2 weeks ago when Williams got the bulk of those secondary carries, I think that might be the telltale sign. I didn't get to see him or watch him play, but I think you're absolutely right. I think it's going to be Robinson's backfield. I mean, I put out a tweet earlier this week. I wanted to just throw this out while we're talking about this in particular. Do you think Robinson has any draft stock? I think day 3, I know he's one of these older prospects. One of my stock up guys is going to be an older prospect too in the running back class. But I mean, Robinson looked really good this past weekend. I mean, do you think an NFL team takes a shot with him if he's on your C2C roster? I mean, he's probably not in any kind of shallow Devy leagues on your roster, but the C2C. Anybody? I mean, I thought he looked really good this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I think if he tests well, he does everything you ask him to do. He can catch the ball. He doesn't fumble the ball. He's big. He's strong. He runs with power. He's patient. I think if he tests well, it's definitely feasible for him to get drafted, early day 3, I think.
Yeah, I think the NFL has shown an affinity towards Alabama running backs in these last several years. So absolutely, I think he has a chance, an opportunity in front of him to raise his draft stock and, potentially day 2. I mean, this 2022 running back class is it's a little sketchy, right? We've been talking about that quite a bit, so you never know.
Yeah, I just love his running style. He's just that punishing, good size, just a guy. He's got some decent lateral movement. I think, he might be this guy that really no one's talking about because everyone's so enamored with, McClellan and Sanders and all these other guys. I mean, there could be, some play there. Verdell goes down with a leg injury. Travis Dye, if he's on your C2C roster, congratulations. You're going to get a ton of production out of him. I don't know if there's really anybody else on that roster right now that is Devy worthy. Brian Cardwell is an incoming 2024 running back that is kind of buried in that class. Dante Demas, unfortunately got hurt. you guys think that affects his draft stock? I mean, where did you guys see Demas? I mean, he kind of emerged this year. He was like the, Elijah Moore version, coming out and kind of popping that last year and really getting on the radar in the NFL drafts. I mean, I've seen him as high in the top 15 in NFL draft nick guys. What do you guys think of Demas as like an NFL prospect? I look at him as like a day 3. Would you agree with that?
I think so. And I think that the injury will be kind of Brian Edwards-esque in that it will affect his draft stock. When it comes to running backs, they can have the 1 year. When it comes to wide receivers, you really want the younger breakout age. And as far as for fantasy football production and longevity and things like that. So I don't know that he'll be anything other than a late rookie pick.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. Trayson Potts, he also, unfortunately, he got hurt. That's really bad for Minnesota because they really lean on their running game. I'm not sure there's really anyone else on that roster worth talking about. So I want to go to the QB questions. This is where I'm interested in hearing your guys' advice. I'm interested now that we've seen week 5, right? We've seen these guys play. I'm looking at a lot of mock drafts and seeing a lot of defensive. This looks like a very heavy defensive class as far as the NFL draft, at least what I see from the first, round in a lot of drafts. Where are we making? Do you think Spencer Rattler at this point, Katie? I know you're a big Spencer Rattler, supporter. You've been a believer. I mean, I think we all have. We've all had him probably 1 or 2 at the top. I mean, he's been a little inconsistent. What is your thought on his drafting ability? You think he's still a first round talent?
I have a big opinion on this, but I want to hear the other guys first. I would like to go last on this topic if you don't mind, but I do have a big answer for you.
Yeah, I'll give you my answer first. I think he does. I think he's got that skill set. What it reminds me of a little bit is Herbert last year. If you remember, we all talked about Herbert, and I remember seeing YouTube videos of his inconsistency, and he's never going to have that consistency to make it to the NFL. And look, he's probably going to end up being the best one out of that class. So I think the NFL is a QB starved league that I'll bet you still half the teams in the NFL wish they had a different quarterback on their roster right now. So, I don't think he gets out of the first round personally, but I'll send it over to you, Dan. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I still have him at number 1. So I'm a big believer. Look, has it been the start that we all were hoping for, that many of us expected? No, it hasn't. But I mean, he still has the best arm talent of any of the quarterbacks in the draft, in my opinion. He's not a runner necessarily, but he's mobile enough. He makes a lot of plays off platform and does those has those wow throws that we saw from Zach Wilson last year that impressed a lot of people. I think it's overblown, to be honest. I mean, he was 22 of 25 this last week, right? And people are still picking him apart, right? That's not the game we want to see. So, I mean, it's the players around him too. You know what I mean? Oklahoma is not as stacked as they've been in recent years. I think I put a tweet out about that recently. So it's not just him that's struggling some. It's the whole offense. So I don't see him getting out of the top 15 picks personally, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's much left to say at this point. The guy could crawl to the podium at the draft, and I think he's not going to make it out of the first round. It's just he's getting nitpicked a little bit this year because, like you guys said, he's been a little inconsistent. But there are times when he shows that he has the best arm in this class, and someone is going to value that enough to take him in the first round.
The floor is yours.
All right, so here we go. At Game 5 last year, he was 105 for 151 with a 69.5% completion rate, 1,518 yards, 15 touchdowns, 5 INTs. This year, and he was 3-2, by the way, 3-2. This year, he's 5-0, 122 for 160, 76.3% completion, way better than he was last year. And yes, his yards are down by about 270 yards. That's it. It's a different team, different wide receivers, different defense. And so his efficiency has gone up, but his yards have gone down. He has thrown 10 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. So less interceptions than this time last year, but less touchdowns also. He's ranked 6 overall. Oklahoma's ranked 6 overall. He's not losing his job. And a lot of people, all the fans are like, Caleb Williams. Williams had a horrible high school record. If you look at his completion rate and you look at his stats, he's not a passer. He's a good runner. And I think he's going to be capable at some point. But really, what the heck do you want? Spencer Rattler is winning games, doing enough, and there's still plenty of games left to go. He's got the strongest arm by far. A flick of the wrist, that ball goes 60 yards. He's got good mobility and can pass on the run. That's better. I mean, everybody can pass from the pocket, especially from a clean pocket. This kid knows when to move. Yes, he's had a few questionable decisions, but there's also been some drops that should have been caught. And every quarterback gets that. His QBR compared to last year is very, very similar. And he's in a similar spot overall. So I think he's just fine. I think that if a team falls in love with him, which they can over the next, 8, however many games that are left, I think he could go number 1 overall still. I'm not worried.
I love it. I think I struck a nerve with the diva over here.
Well,
So
just the question alone is
Hey, I love it too.
hey,
It's
listen, the reason I asked this question is simple. But, you get in that Twicko echo chamber, right? The Twitter echo chamber. But I looked at 15 mock drafts today on this website. It's really great. Like, give you all the website or all the mock drafts of all the major sites. I mean, Spencer Rattler's falling in a lot of those. I mean, I see Malik Willis going first. I see Carson Strong going first. So, I mean, it's all over the board. And, I've been seeing him fall because I love looking at mock drafts. I know it's like an early indication. It doesn't mean a whole lot in the end because they're mock drafts. But I think it gives you a gauge of what people's thoughts are. But in any case, let's go back. Let's go to DJU now. Let's flip to another guy who is struggling. What are everyone's thoughts on him? I mean, again, Twitter's kind of going crazy. Like a lot of people are kind of out on him and not being patient. I'm still going to be a little patient. What are your thoughts, Katie, on DJU?
All right, I'll start off with DJU. Coming out of high school, and I know high school is completely different from college, but that's what we have to go on is what were his stats coming in. Mike Leach said that when you recruit and look for a quarterback, accuracy is something that you can't teach compared to some of the other physical skills. And part of accuracy has a lot to do with timing and touch. He was at 67%. There's a lot that goes into it. 67% completion. He threw for 10,496 yards. So not a small sample size in one of the best high school programs at John Bosco. 14.4 adjusted yards per attempt, 127 touchdowns to 11 INTs. That's a 214 rate. 8th overall out of the last 169 quarterbacks in high school that are now in college or gone into the NFL. Ridiculous. And we saw a little bit of that last year. But this year's Clemson is not last year's Clemson. And
right.
Yes, he has a lot of things that he's got to work on himself. But the man has if I'm thinking of an NFL prospect, he's got the size, he's got the arm, he's got the talent. Yes, he's going through a bad time right now, but guess who else did as a freshman, as a first-year starter? Patrick Mahomes didn't have a great first year in college. Sure. Josh Allen was horrible for 3 years in college, still got drafted, worked his way. There are certain things you can work your butt off to correct. But some of the things that DJ Uiagalelei has, you can't teach. He's got those physical traits that you want as an NFL quarterback. And I'm not moving him this whole year. Now, at the end of the year,
I love the answer.
At the end of the year, when I have a bigger sample size, I'll reassess it. But for right now, not panicking.
Yeah, I think you bring up a lot of good points. I mean, I think the expectation on these high-profile players is unreasonable. I think it's the same way when a rookie quarterback goes to the NFL. The expectations of immediate production is unsustainable. It's a huge transition from high school to college, from college to the NFL. So let's talk about the 2023 running back class real quick. All right. So Evans is really kind of playing really well for TCU right now. I got him number 4 in my dashboard as far as the ranks for that particular class. you guys think he can work his way up into the top 2 or 3? You think he can get, I'm seeing people starting to fade Spiller just a little bit. The box score watchers are already thinking that, his average per, carry isn't great. What are your guys' thoughts on, Evans? I think, is he climbing up your boards, Dan?
Oh yeah. I love Evans. I actually moved him up to RB3 in the 2023 class. I moved him ahead of Tank Bigsby. Look, the thing with Evans, the reason people were so down on him had nothing to do with what he can do on the football field. The guy was the highest rated prospect ever to come into TCU. I believe he was 1 or 2 in his class as far as prospect ranking goes. And he's just electric, man. When he's on the football field, he's just making plays. That game, I was watching some of the game, him and Bijan going back and forth, man. And it was that was exciting. Watching those two, and I see some similarities in their games, to be honest. So, yeah, I absolutely could see him going in the top 3 of his class.
Yeah, I did a film on this YouTube channel of all his carries last year, and he had the average yards per carry, but he was a very linear runner. I didn't see a lot of lateral movement, and I was somewhat critical of him last year. It was a COVID season; he was just getting started. Again, that big transition, and I've seen a definite improvement in his. His ability, especially from the lateral movement, making guys miss, his contact balance and stuff like that. So I think he's definitely on the rise as well in that class. Anybody else want to add anything?
Sure.
Yeah. Go ahead,
Joe.
I think he could probably go up to RB3 for me. I've got him above Jahmyr Gibbs right now. I've still got Tank a little bit ahead of him, but unfortunately with the running backs, as electric and talented as he is, it seems like these character concerns and these questions tend to follow them until the day they're drafted. You look at guys like Darius Geis, rest in peace, even Joe Mixon and Dalvin Cook to an extent. I think character concerns hurt their draft stock just a little bit. And at the end of the day, I think he's going to have those questions asked him during the pre-draft process, and it's still going to affect his draft stock just a little bit.
Regarding those character questions, I've followed him pretty closely, as I do. I mean, I look as much on the on-field as the off-field, trying to get hints and little pieces of information. And regarding Zach, he's cleaned up his act. His coaches now say that he's the hardest working guy in the room all the time. He's there early, he's there late. His grade point average is like 3.75. He's really buckled down and worked hard in school. So I don't think those question marks are there anymore. That's great news. But I still don't have him. I've got him as my RB6 in the 2023 class. That is a very, very stacked class. And yes, I like his move. I mean, having him as RB6 doesn't mean I don't like him. I do. That just means that there's really a lot of talent there. I've got Bijan Robinson, Tank Bigsby. I still love Kendall Milton, even though a small sample size. And I think, again, projecting to the pros, he's going to have a better shot at being a bell cow, if possible, more so than Evans. Evans will be a great utility back. I don't think he's going to be the whole. He'll be like a 1A in a committee, and that's okay for fantasy. That's still great. I like McClellan, even though he got injured. I'm not going to knock him for being injured. I love what I saw at Alabama. He's got the size. He's got that steak ass that you want in a running back. And you knew I'd drop that at least once tonight, Brian.
Oh, absolutely.
and so, yes, I love Zach Evans, and I'm glad that he's cleaned up his act. But I still can't move him up. I mean, maybe I could move him up. I just can't see who, though. Maybe above Gibbs. I've got Jahmyr Gibbs just above him right now. But again, they're neck and neck. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, listen, let's just tell us the way it is. He doesn't have a steak ass. That's it.
He does. It's just not prime grade A.
Yeah, it's just not prime grade, right? Okay, I'm going to go around the hood. So just say yes or no. We don't have to talk about it a lot, right? Urban Meyer, does he go back to college before the end of the season, or does he stick it out?
I think he needs to go back to college to study math. And I think that a good course in how to treat human beings and be a decent human being would be a good class for him to take. I'm not sure that many colleges would accept him though as a student at his age.
Yeah, I think he's going back home. I don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think he's getting another job anytime soon with the baggage he has right now. And he's in a big mess down in Jacksonville, and I don't see that ending well.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Yeah, I'm not sure he coaches for the next couple of years. I mean, it's just, come on, man. Like, staying behind to be with your grandchildren, right, when you usually fly back with the team, and getting caught on video doing that. I mean, just the guy he thinks he's untouchable, right? He thinks he lives above the other standards of head coaches, and I don't think that's going to sit well with anybody that's going to be potentially hiring.
I think potentially he doesn't like to lose, and I think that's going to be a factor. He's not going to want to tarnish that reputation of his. I don't know. All right, I got this question. Rob begged me to ask this question. Is there an argument to be made to not have Brock Bowers already as ranked as the number 2 tight end in Devy? And I said to me, it's a little early to have him. I know he's flashed at Georgia a little bit and everyone's excited about that production, but in my ranks, I've got him down at like number 8 or 9. I just can't, after 2 or 3 games. What are your guys' thoughts? I'm sure you've seen Brock Bowers. I mean, look, I think everyone's into the Michael Mayer, right? You got Billingsley, you got some other people with it, Eric Gilbert, everyone's looking for that stud tight end and to get him on their Devy rosters, but not sure, he's a little on the light side too, to be an NFL. He's only, I think, 230. But certainly an athletic tight end. So what are your guys, initial reactions to that, let's say?
Yeah, I'd probably calm down on that just a little bit. I mean, we're not saying he can't get there at some point, but
sure.
The sample size is way too small. And then, like you said, you've got those 2 guys that are definitely ahead of him. And guys like Jalen Watermeyer, he's kind of suffered from terrible quarterback play this year, but he's still a great prospect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's premature. It's just too early to peg him there. I do have Watermeyer at number 2 right now. I think, that the NFL has shown that they'll draft tight ends fairly early despite limited production, especially if there's other factors at play like terrible quarterback play, which is pretty clearly what's going on there. So,
yeah,
it's just too early to bump him up that high for me.
I've got him at tight end 4, but that's about as high as I'll go right now. But yeah, he's definitely talented, and we should be looking out for him. Tight ends in college, it's so hard. The hit rate in Devy, they're the lowest hit rate, even lower than quarterback. The easiest hit rate is running back and then wide receiver. Quarterback is 3rd and tight end is last, 6% chance. And I would rather spend my draft capital gathering up as many steak-ass running backs as I can. And then I got trade bait, and then I've got something I can trade.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say that if you have him on your roster, it's great because you could probably at the right time cash in for, especially if you're deep on your NFL side, if you're in the C2C. Anyway, all right, let's get to our stock watch segment. I'm going to go first with my player. I'm going to talk about Stanford quarterback Tanner Mckee. I just put a video on him out on this YouTube channel this past week. If you didn't watch the game against Oregon this past Saturday, it was well worth the watch. A little history on this kid. He was ranked as the 3rd pro ranked quarterback back in the 2018 class behind Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields in that class. And then, when he did come to college, he was in Brazil for 2 years, took off 2 years to go on a mission, I guess, for his church or whatever. Came back last year, kind of played 1 game, getting reacclimated to the game. And now he has taken over. He has been the starter all season for Stanford. I mean, his stats right now are pretty impressive. He's 89 for 138, just over 1,000 yards, 64% completion percentage, 11 TDs, and 0 interceptions. He's got really good size at 6'6", 228. And as we know, I mean, the quarterback position's pretty thin in all classes, it looks like. And, I look at him. I made the game film. He was really impressive. He picked apart Oregon in the middle of the field, intermediate slants and curls and dig routes and stuff like that. Didn't really do a lot of vertical passing, but I know at the USC game in week 2, I did see a lot of vertical passes. But I think as given as this tight end class can be, he's only a sophomore right now. He's an older prospect, so the analytics people probably aren't really going to, love him all that much. But for 6'6", 228 pounds, he's got some mobility. He's run for 71 yards, so he's got some mobility in the pocket. I really liked what I saw. He takes care of the ball. He's tough. He's physical. And I really liked what I saw. And I think that he could be, he reminds me of, Carson Strong, right? Carson Strong is kind of the same size. I think he's that taller frame. He's got a decent release, a quick release, a strong arm. He can make all the throws on the field. And I think for his first 5 games without throwing a pick and, had 3 TDs in the last week, I'm always kind of looking for the next kind of, string of quarterbacks to hit the market in Devy. And I've been impressed with Tanner Mckee. I think he's a name, again, that, I'm going to keep an eye on in future classes. So he's my stock up player. I think I'm, going to enjoy watching him for the rest of this season. So
I like that. He's got a QBR of 80.8, which puts him 12th overall right now, which is not bad.
Yeah. I was impressed with his game. I really was. So, Dan, who was your stock watch player this week?
Yeah, first I want to say that I love your call, Brandon. As a Stanford fan, I'm all in on him, man. I think he's the guy that can bring us back to prominence. So fingers crossed on that.
Let me just mention one other thing too, is he's got not a lot of weapons. So, I mean, he doesn't have a vibrant running game. He doesn't have an alpha on the outside. I mean, he's making do with what he's got. I mean, I can only imagine if he had a great player, like a true number 1 out there who was a real playmaker. So sorry, Dan, go ahead.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm going to go with the guy that frankly, I'm surprised that nobody's talking about this guy, Jayden Reed. So look, I mean, he last year, right? Limited production. He didn't put up a lot of yards. He wasn't really on anybody's radar. Frankly, he wasn't really on my radar coming into the year. But I've been watching some Michigan State games this year. I spent a year in Lansing, so kind of familiar with the area. I like to follow some of those guys. And he has just done nothing but impress, man. I was looking up a couple of statistics today. One, he has more all-purpose yards, more receiving yards than Desmond Howard had in his Heisman winning season, right? I mean, he's leading the nation in all-purpose yards. The guy is just electric with the ball in his hands. I mean, you watch him on those that last punt return that he took back to the house in this last game, man, that was impressive. He's got speed, right? He's quick. He's got the speed. He has the elusiveness in the open field. And I think the NFL has shown that they will target guys with that type of skill set. An all-around talented guy that can play special teams, can get you those big plays, right? Has shown that he has a penchant for the end zone. He has a touchdown in every game except one, at least 1 touchdown in every game except one. And again, I was kind of researching. I'm kind of flabbergasted that we're not talking about this guy more.
Yeah, I think he's been getting some buzz lately. In fact, it's when I saw you put this on the show sheet, you think you're going to be kind of happy because I'm doing like a mid-season film on him, showing all of his receptions and stuff. I'm going to do like a whole.
Oh, I love that.
Like the first 6 weeks or something. So you have that coming to you. So
awesome.
Yeah. So Joe, who was your player?
This guy's kind of been flying under the radar. I like Ja'Cory. I think it's pronounced Ja'Cory Roberson, the receiver out of Wake Forest. Mm-hmm. He was a late riser, 2018, 2019. He was redshirted as a true freshman. Had a redshirt freshman season. Didn't really produce much then because you had Sage Surratt around at that point, and he's kind of grown with his quarterback. I believe his name's Sam Hartman. So last year during the COVID season, he was very close to having 1,000 yards, and then this season, he's really been the primary weapon at Wake Forest. I really like that guy's skill set because he can, he can win close to the line of scrimmage. He can win across the middle, and he can beat you deep too. 6'1", 185. He's not the biggest guy, but I think he'll test well, and he's productive enough that he'll catch the eyes of some teams come April, and I think he'll find his way. He might sneak his way onto some rosters here and there.
Cool, I like it. Katie, who was your player? Your stock watch.
I'm going stock up, and this is my RB7 for the 2023 class, right behind Zach Evans. And he doesn't necessarily have the steak ass, but he's definitely on his way there. He was recruited to play cornerback at Syracuse and ended up converting and is a running back. It's Sean Tucker. And I like his overall game. If you look at his stats, he's almost identical to Bijan Robinson as far as he's got 638 rushing yards. Bijan has 652, so an average of 6 yards per carry. 7 touchdowns. Bijan has 7. 175 reception yards. Bijan 167, so he's got a leg up on him on receptions, but he's averaging 19.4 yards per reception, and Bijan's only at 16.7. And again, I know that Bijan is the steak ass that we all want, but as far as don't overlook the small school guys, he is a 3-star, but for running backs, Kareem Hunt was the same type of guy out of Toledo, small school guy that wasn't a big recruit. He can be on our fantasy rosters, and I really, really like his game.
Nice. I like it. All right. So I have a question, my burning question of the week. Name a player that maybe no one's talking about that you think will be a late round possible rookie pick in next year's rookie drafts. All right. All right. So again, trying to get some deeper names, get some names out there that, people, may have not really been kind of talking about. And one guy I want to talk about, I'll talk about first is Desean Corbin, running back for Florida State. I think he's been really impressive. He's had a rough road of it. He was drafted or not drafted, but he committed to Texas A&M, was there for a couple of years. He was a 4-star recruit from Florida. And then he had a horrific hamstring injury that apparently got torn off the tailbone. So, which sounds extremely painful. I always thought an Achilles heel might sound like the most painful injury until I heard that one. But that was back in 2019. He came back last year getting, again, his feet back under him. But this year, he has just been tearing it up. He's had 62 attempts, 504 yards, 8.1 average, 4 touchdowns. I believe he's got a Steakath worthy of prime grade from his size. He's 6 foot, 221 pounds. He's the kind of back that I like. He's big, he's strong, he's punishing. I like his size. I think he's got, again, decent lateral quickness, which is something every running back to translate to the NFL needs to have a little bit of to even sniff our dynasty rosters from what I've seen. I just did a game film, put it out on this YouTube channel for you to kind of take a look at. And he catches the ball out of the backfield. He has 14 receptions for 63 yards and 4.5 yard average. No touchdowns through the air. And if you watch the video that I put out in the film and you watch his receptions, they're just not out on the flat and stuff like that. He's going downfield. He actually, I think, can run routes. So look, he's an older prospect. He's from the 2017, 18 class, I guess. So he's listed as a redshirt sophomore. But I do believe he is draft eligible this year, given how long he's been in college. But I like him. Look, this is a day 3 pick. This is what the purpose of this particular question was. It's not a guy that I think is going to be, drafted day 1, obviously day 2. It might be one of those late round guys that ends up on a roster like Khalil Herbert right now for Chicago is going to get some run, Elijah Mitchell. And, so I'm looking at him as a potential guy that, given his skill set, his size, his physicality, will make it to an NFL roster in a backup role that just might hit our roster at some point, when the injuries in the NFL, like they're happening this year, happen. I think Desean Corbin is a name that really no one's talking about. I like his game. So that he is my kind of deeper player for tonight. Joe, who do you got?
So forgive me, I wrote my notes backwards. I may have confused you. So apologize to everyone watching.
No worries.
Ja'Cory Roberson was supposed to be my player for this segment. My stock down player was actually Michael Penix Jr. So I don't want to throw you guys too big of a curveball unless you want me to talk about, Michael Penix and why I think his stock's down as well.
Oh, Michael Penix?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Dan, who's your guy?
I'm going to go with Kenny Pickett. So this is another guy that, again, I haven't really heard much. There hasn't been a whole lot of buzz about this guy, and that surprises me, much like my Jayden Reed take. He is just balling out, guys. He's fucking balling out straight up. 1,731 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Those are his stats right now. I mean, the guy is just on a torrid pace. Last 3 games, he's got 15 touchdowns, 1 interception. Last 2 games, 5 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns, and then 5 touchdowns. I mean, look, we're all looking for the next Joe Burrow or Zach Wilson, right? I'm not saying this guy's going to be that, although he does have the stats to back it up at this point in the season. But we're also looking for the next Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott type, right? A mid-round guy that could really elevate an NFL team and earn a starting job within his first couple of years. And everything I've seen from Kenny Pickett shows me that he can be that type of guy. I mean, he can make all the throws. You know, I've watched some film of him. He makes those throws. He can make the deep throw. You know, his arm is good enough to hit the hashes. He's got a little bit of mobility to his game, right? He's not a crazy athlete, but he has some mobility, enough pocket mobility to move around. And yeah, I just, again, his stats are astronomical right now. And I think he's going to start picking up buzz as we get closer to the offseason.
I think he is starting to get some draft little buzz from what I've seen. So interesting.
He's got the second highest QBR in all of college football right now, by the way. So yeah, he's right behind Malik Willis. So
yeah, ridiculous stats.
Yeah.
Certainly been productive. All right, Katie, who's your guy who you think could be a late round rookie pick who could land on our dynasty roster next year?
I think this guy is round 5 or later, maybe even an undrafted free agent, but I'm going to go with Chris Rodriguez out of Kentucky. He's 5'11", 224, at least according to some sources. We never know until the combine and they actually measure and test. But he's been at Kentucky with 3 productive years out of 4. He redshirted as a freshman, 620 yards just this season alone, 620 with a 6.0 average. Again, very close and very similar to the other guys that I was talking about, including Sean Tucker. Where he falls flat is his receptions. He's not a receiver out of the backfield, so he's not going to ever be anything other than just a good thumper. At 5'11", 224, he could definitely be a backup somewhere that is an injury away and can help your dynasty team at some point.
Kentucky.
Yeah, I was watching some of his film. You know, he had a nice game this past weekend. So
he did.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of running backs like that in this class. You know, there's going to be just a lot of guys that, you know, and we just don't know which one it's going to be.
Yeah,
right?
He's not flashy. He's not flashy, and he doesn't have a lot of burst, but he's tenacious and he runs downhill and he'll get you those tough yards. And
that's it.
And, you know, at 6.0 yards per carry, that's not bad.
Hey, Jordan Howard earned a role early in his career doing just that. So
yeah, exactly.
Kentucky has a type, right? Benny Snell.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. I think I was thinking of Benny Snell when I was watching his film, in fact.
All right, let's get to the trade talk. So I plucked a bunch of trades off the trade chat room, you know, on the Slack chat. So we're going to go through. So here's a trade. Kendall Milton, Eric Gray, Keontae Ingram for Zach Evans. Now, this trade was discussed just recently on the Slack chat. I don't know if you guys saw it. And it was a deny. It was the person who offered Milton, Gray, and Ingram for Zach Evans was denied. So what is everyone's thought on that trade? I'll give you my answer at the end.
I've got Kendall Milton ranked higher than Zach Evans. So for me, it's a no-brainer. I would take the Kendall Milton side. I'm surprised that it was denied. I think NFL caliber Kendall Milton is above Zach Evans. I like Zach Evans a lot. But to get Eric Gray and Keontae Ingram as a kick, you know, as a back, I would not be able to say no to that deal.
Yeah, I'm surprised it was rejected immediately. I mean, you've got guys who are really have their guys they really like, but I'm surprised it wasn't at least considered, you know?
Yeah, this one's a little tougher for me. I'll play devil's advocate a little bit. I'm not as high on Kendall Milton, and I will say that, I haven't really seen enough to make a full determination, but he looks a little bit like a plotter to me, from what I have seen. Eric Gray, I've been high on. I've been on record on the show as stating that I'm an Eric Gray truther. That's getting harder to be that as we go through the season, and he's just not producing. I would still take the package side, I think, but it's a little bit closer for me because I really love Zach Evans.
Yeah, when I made a comment on the Slack chat about it, and my point was I think it's just bad timing, right? You got Kendall Milton, who seems to be stuck in a committee role. Like, what is his role next year? We really don't know yet. Is he going to be that single lead guy? Most likely. Eric Gray, as you guys know, I've never been a huge fan, and Keontae Ingram, I don't think makes it to our dynasty rosters. He's been a big disappointment. I had high hopes from him earlier on, but like Zach Evans right now is all the rage, right? So that Zach Evans owner, I think, is looking at Milton, hasn't really done much. Eric Gray is kind of faltering in Oklahoma, and Keontae Ingram is really not on probably a lot of people's radar. So I think it's pretty close. I don't know. I like Kendall Milton. I just did a film review. It's on this YouTube channel with Corey. We broke down his film in all 22. And he certainly got some skill set, but I don't know. The more I watch Zach Evans, the more I'm impressed with him. I think it's really close for me. I could go either way, given how I feel about Gray on this one. So, to me, this is all about Milton or Evans, whoever you believe in. And right now, I would have to lean on the Evans side of that trade. So here's another one: Pickens, Zonovan Knight, and Jermaine Burton for Burks and Donovan Edwards. So we got George Pickens, Zonovan Knight, Jermaine Burton on one side, and for Treylon Burks and Donovan Edwards, who is a 2024 running back for Michigan, if you don't know, who is kind of waiting in the wings after one of my favorite running backs, Blake Corum. So what is everyone? So, I'll go first on this one. I'm a Pickens guy. I've always been a Pickens guy. I know he's got the intangible, kind of scares a lot of people. I know the ACL doesn't concern me at all. I just did a Jermaine Burton film review on this YouTube channel and with Corey again, and really I think he's an undervalued asset right now. He's somebody I'm going to actually be talking about on my podcast this week because his stats really haven't been there, and he's kind of fallen off the radar a little bit. Zonovan Knight, can't say I've watched a ton of film on. He has been getting some draft capital buzz. So as much as I like Burks, I'm not too. Donovan Edwards might be a nice 2024 running back, but right now I would have to lean. I'm going to take Pickens and Burton. I feel better about those two getting on my roster than Burks and Edwards. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I'll go. Treylon Burks is my wide receiver one, and normally I would err on that side if I have a player ranked that high. I love everything about Burks and his size and physicality and all-around game. But I think I'm going to go with the Pickens side as well on this one. Pickens is another guy I really like. Pretty highly touted prospect. I hope he comes back from this injury, and maybe he comes back at the end of the season. Maybe we get to see him in the combine and he blows it up. But I'm also a big Jermaine Burton guy. I've been on record with that as well. I have him ranked pretty high. And Zonovan Knight, I like Zonovan. What I have seen of him, he looks like he could be maybe early day 3 guy, potentially late day 2, depending on how this 2022 class shakes out at running back. But I do like his game. So yeah, that's the side I'm taking.
You can go ahead, Katie. We can make it a clockwork.
Okay, no problem. I think the running backs offset each other. I think it's just a matter of preference. They're both very similar size, similar recruits, similar players. So that's a wash for me. And in Devy, it comes down to volume. Volume is king. And as much as I love Treylon Burks and his skill set and his rare hand size, and Woo Pig Sui's a hog, I like George Pickens as a wide receiver. He's feisty. He's strong. Jermaine Burton has shown that he's a pretty good receiver as well. So I would take the 2 for 1 and call it a day. And that's why I like the Kendall Milton, Eric Gray. Even though I've never been a big Eric Gray fan, he has some value. I'm not a big Keontae Ingram fan. I might be able to get a Devy pick for him at some point and then keep churning. So the answer to Kudas, who was in chat asking, do you think Milton, even though he's in a committee, all Georgia backs are in committees. Nick Chubb was in a committee. Look at him in the NFL. DeAndre Swift was in a committee, and look at him in the NFL. Todd Gurley was in a committee, and look at him in the NFL. I'm not worried about him being in a committee in college and his chances of making it as a bell cow back in the NFL. So hope that answers your question, and that's what I'd say about the trade.
Yeah. I think I agree with you. I think a lot of this comes down to what have we seen so far, and on the Bam Knight, Pickens, and Burton side, you got three guys that are going to play on Sundays in some capacity, unless something just very unexpected happens. Bam Knight has improved from last year to this year. He's gained weight. He's close to 210 now. He's made big plays on special teams too. Someone's going to take a stab at him, and those other two guys, we already know how good they are. So as much as I love Treylon Burks, I haven't seen anything from Donovan Edwards yet, so I'm just going to take the safer side.
Yep, I like it. All right, here's an interesting one. Kyron Williams and Tank Bigsby for Javonte Williams. I'm going on the Williams side. I know his landing spot. For me, Devy and C2C is all about building for my NFL roster. That's just my approach for the majority of my C2C league. So assuming if I had Williams and Bigsby, I already know Javonte Williams is hopefully going to be the guy in Denver next year if Gordon is no longer on that team. So this was an easy one for me. Javonte Williams, what are your guys' thoughts?
Well, no, I just have this weird feeling that Melvin Gordon's going to be like the next Frank Gore that just never goes away. I mean, I don't know if he's going to play in Denver, but I mean, I feel like he's just going to keep getting these contracts here and there. But
I don't want him to stay in Denver. No, I'm a Broncos fan. No, let him go.
Yeah. But I don't think he's going to stay in Denver long term, but I do think he's going to be an annoying guy for a lot of people for a long time because he can probably stay productive well into his 30s. But yeah, I think I'd lean on the Javonte Williams side just because how big of his opportunity he has. He already has very good draft capital, and we know what the Broncos have planned for him. So I really like his opportunity there.
Anyone taking the other side?
I will. I'll take the Tank Bigsby. I'm not a big Kyron Williams fan. I've probably got him ranked lower than most people, but I could trade him off for some other Devy pick or something. And I don't play C2C, so I don't know if this is a C2C trade, but I try to make my dynasty roster so that running backs are fungible, easily tradable, and I think Tank Bigsby's special. I don't think Javonte Williams is special. I think he's okay. I think he's in a down class. He was the third best running back option. But, yeah, that's right, Dwight, because Kyron doesn't have a steak ass. You're right. But anyway, I do think Tank Bigsby is special, and I'd rather have the special and wait for it. And then getting the 2-for-1 to have another asset that I could trade. Kyron Williams has a good name in the Devy landscape. I would trade him while his name is still high.
Yeah, Bigsby's got a tank of an ass, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Hey, Javonte has quite the steak ass, though, right?
Yeah, he's all right. I mean,
He's got. Hey, look at his neck. Just look at his neck. That's all I'm saying. No, I'm taking the draft capital too. I'm taking the guy that already has the draft capital, who happens to be on my favorite team, and just when Javonte, man, when he gets going, he just plows through guys. I think he has a chance to be special in Denver once he takes over that backfield.
All right, here's the next trade. This is an interesting one. Will Shipley and Bowers, the tight end from Georgia, for Smith Njigba and Blake Corum. So who wants to go first on this one?
Can you repeat that first part?
Yeah, it's Will Shipley and Brock Bowers, right? Tight end from Georgia, for Smith Njigba and Blake Corum.
Oh, that's easy. Smith and Njigba and Blake Corum side for me. I have Smith and Njigba ranked really high in my Devy rankings. I think he has a chance to be even better than Wilson and Olave. I really love his game. I love his skill set. So, and Corum, I know you love Corum, Brandon, and I'm a big fan as well. I've really come around on him. So that one's easy for me. I'm taking that side.
you could argue that Smith and Jigma is already better than Chris Olave. Just the athleticism and fluidness and the playmaking ability he's shown with very limited experience. I'm all over that side too.
Yeah.
I would take the JSN Quorum side.
Yeah, it was all about Blake
It's
Corum
pretty close, though. I mean, I can see it. I mean, I just don't like I don't like Devy tight ends, and I do like. I've got Bowers as my 4th ranked tight end. That doesn't mean I want to wait 4 years plus the 3 or 4 years in the NFL for him to become fantasy relevant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the Smith and Jigba Corum side as well. I mean, as Dan said, I have Corum in every one of my C2C leagues. I loved his high school film. I know he's an undersized guy. He's only got the special steak ass that's probably on sale. But I'm going to take my shot with him as being some kind of scat back in the NFL. If like I said, if Gainwell can make it to the NFL, I think Blake Corum can as well. All right, so here is a interesting one. Howell, and well, no, that's another Corum one. We'll skip that one. Strong, Carson Strong, and Michael Mayer, I guess, for Bigsby and Josh Downs. Strong and Mayer, tight end 1 for everybody, right? Everyone wants the next Kelsey for Bigsby and Downs.
Does it say if it's super flex or tight end premium?
No, I'm going to let's just know it didn't. So let's just say it is super flex. If it is, yeah, and you know what? Let's assume it's a super flex with a tight end premium. All right, for the discussions on this, I think I'm going to take the Strong and Mayer side. I have not been the biggest Strong supporter, but he is getting the draft, talk right now. I like Bigsby and I like Downs, but if it's a tight end premium league, I'm going to go for Mayer on that side of the deal and hope that Kevin Strong, Carson Strong can make it to my dynasty roster as well. I think I'm going to take the Strong and Mayer side on that particular deal. What do you guys got?
I'm going with that side as well. This one's close, and I think, I wish I knew a little bit more context on some of these. Maybe we could, add in a little bit of that, the SF tight end premium, right? Rebuilding team, not that kind of thing. But I'm assuming that the person targeting Carson Strong needs a quarterback. And as we all know, quarterbacks are gold in SF. So getting Mayer as well, who, is going to be an elite prospect. I think he's going to go first round when he comes out. Yeah, I would lean that side. Absolutely.
What do you guys got?
I mean, with it being super flex, presumably tied in premium, it's really hard to justify not taking that side. Despite how much I like the other side.
Right.
I feel a butt coming on. I feel a big butt coming on.
Yeah.
Is it a steak butt?
I like big butts, but I don't like tight ends. I got to go with Bigsby and Downs just because Strong is such a crapshoot if he even makes it. And Mayer, I do love him, but even in tight end premium, there's so many tight ends that can be traded for cheap. And I would go with Bigsby and Downs. And yes, I know that tight ends need love too, Katie. Richard said, so I do understand that. I get it, but I'll love them in the NFL, not when they're in college. How about that?
What about tight ends with steak asses?
They don't have to run the ball, so it's a different kind of build.
All right, so here's the last one. So this is kind of, I guess, a deep Devy league or whatever. So you got Kyron Williams, JSN, that's Smith Najigba, Matt Corral. You got Eason, Duvernay, a 2022 depleted 3rd round pick. All right, so we got Kyron Williams on this side, JSN, Corral, Eason, Duvernay, 2022 Devy depleted 3rd for Sam Darnold, Waddle, AJ Dillon, and a 2022 Devy depleted 4th.
So this was my trade. I was in on this trade.
Actually, you were.
Yes, I was.
I didn't know that. Okay. Spicy. You know what? You're going last then.
Hey, yeah. I'll go last. But I just wanted to add context. It was actually 2 separate trades.
Okay.
So the one trade was it was JSN and Kyron for Waddle, and then the other one was the other side of it, Corral, Duvernay, and the pick for AJ Dillon, Sam Darnold, and the pick.
All right. So the two,
but we can count
trades,
it all as one. Yeah.
Yeah, that will count it all as one. I for this one, I'm got to go with the Darnold, Waddle, AJ Dillon. They're all got landing spot. I love Jalen Waddle. I think he's going to be, if he's not right behind Chase, I'd be very surprised in that class of wide receivers. He was my wide receiver one in last year's class, even above Chase. I just love his athleticism and toughness and versatility. I would have to go with the Darnold, Waddle, AJ Dillon. They're all landing on my dynasty rosters right now. They're all contributing in some fashion. Sam Darnold looks like he's taken a step. So the picks are depleted. So that really doesn't mean much to me. I'm just looking at the assets. So I'd be leaning Team B on our show sheet here.
Yeah. I'm on Team B as well. Big fan of Jalen Waddle as well. And I really like how Carolina has really woken us up and showed us who Sam Darnold really is. And, he may be a top 10 dynasty quarterback right now. But on the other side, there was a lot of, it seemed like, a handful of dimes for, a crisp $2 bill is a cheap way of putting it.
Yeah, I've got to go with the Darnold side. And here's the way that I look at it. Kyron Williams, again, I think is overrated. JSN, good prospect. Matt Corral could very easily be the number one quarterback in this year's draft. Sam Darnold already has done that. He was the third overall pick, in the first round just a few years ago, and he's having that resurgence with a new team. I love AJ Dillon. I love Waddle. Again, they've already made it to the pros. Eason, that's nothing. Duvernay, that's nothing. The depleted third and fourth, they could be something, but they're both equal. The third and the fourth, you're going to get a similar look at a similar type player. So to me, it's Darnold versus Corral. And as much as I like that he has matured and he's really dominating this year, I still would take the Team B side.
You guys are killing me. I'm telling you.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Okay,
Dude,
here we go.
I had no idea this was your
I
trade.
saw it in there. So shout out to Ryan Ralph. Again, I think I did a shout out for him on one of the previous shows. If you're listening, Ryan, apparently they like your side on these. Okay, I'm going to justify what I did. Okay, first of all, I made the trade early in the season for Corral, and I have no regrets about that. Look, I like Sam Darnold. My team is not competing. We're a productive struggle type. I'm looking at, a 3-year plan with that team. And I think Corral just has a higher ceiling. I think Darnold, yes, he's playing great. He's playing better than I expected when I made the trade, but I would do that again. I think Corral has a higher ceiling, and that's what I'm going for, right? I'd rather go for the ceiling play than the floor play on that. AJ Dillon, yeah, I like him. I don't know when he's going to get much work in Green Bay, so I'm not sure what he's going to do for me there. Oh, I see the comment from Ryan there. Yeah.
But I think it's important.
It was the pre-Darnold. Yeah.
It was. I think that's really important, right? Because Sam Darnold, no one knew he was going to do what he was going to do now. There was a 50-50 chance. Right. So I can't fault you for that.
I think it was week 2, and I was watching Corral just throw dimes. I think I shared that on the show, actually, in one of the previous episodes. And I had made the trade pre-game or, mid-game.
At that point,
go ahead.
At that point, we hadn't seen Darnold take a single snap for the Panthers in the actual season.
And I'm still not convinced, guys. Yes, he's showing something, but he also, I get the Adam Gase thing, right? But he just wasn't very good for the first 3 years in New York that he was there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
hey, listen, just to put in, the trades that I've made, and especially in some of my leagues, I overpay for people sometimes. Like I don't go neck to neck with every trade that I make. to be like, it has to be even Steven. You wanted a piece of corral before the season started, and you overpaid. You may have overpaid. It doesn't
I
matter.
knew I was overpaying. Yeah.
It doesn't matter because you got your guy, right? So I always say that in a trade. Sometimes I overpay just so the guy hits the freaking button and I don't have to get into a negotiation. And if I give up a little value, who fucking cares? So there's a million other guys you can trade for or whatever. It's just a silly game that we play. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's just what it is.
So the other trade, look, I'm a big Waddle fan as well, guys. I am, but like I said, I have JSN ranked really high. I knew my team, was a year or two away, and I think he's going to be a really, highly ranked, highly drafted player. And I tend to gravitate towards receivers with a little bit more size, with a little bit more physicality, and I see that in JSN's game. I've also been on record as a Kyron guy. Do I think he's going to earn a 3-down role in the NFL? No, I don't. But do I think his ceiling is an Alvin Kamara type of role? Yes, absolutely. He's a really good pass catcher. If he lands in the right offense, I think he could have that type of, if he gets the draft capital and lands in the right offense, I think he could have that type of opportunity. I mean, let's remember, Kamara was a 3rd-round pick, I believe it was. So, none of us saw that coming. And that's a skill set, right, that certain teams are looking for. So, yeah. And just to add one more thing, if Rich Adams is listening, I conferred with him on both these trades, and he took my side. So, yeah, I needed him on the show to back me up on this.
Rich is having some plumbing problems, isn't he?
There you go.
Yeah, there he is. There he is. Yes.
All right,
Rich was with me.
Yeah. One last important question before I let everyone go for the night. Katie, what are you doing for your birthday tomorrow?
I am working late, and then my neighbor's taking me out to dinner and drinks.
Nice. Drinks are always good.
Right on.
Awesome.
All right, guys, that is the show. We hit an hour, which is, I think a good time to depart. I appreciate everyone coming on tonight. Katie, great guest. Thank you. You're welcome to come on the Devy Huddle at any time. Thanks again, guys, and we'll see you next Tuesday night at 9:00, same place, same time. Thanks, guys.
All right, guys. Take care.
All right. Awesome.